A new book written by Dr. Edward Tree examines the value of prayer and its relationship with God. Inspired by the real example of the saints, this new book titled When You Pray shows people how to begin their journey of prayer and how to strengthen their relationship with God. The book also takes a look at what God did in the lives of countless saints. Joining us now from Rome is Dr. Edward Tree, author and theologian. Dr. Tree, great to be with you today. Can you tell us more about this new book and how the idea came about?
Oh, I'm so excited. So it's called When You Pray, and it's all about the life of prayer and Catholic spirituality. You know, so many Catholics know that prayer is important. We know it's supposed to be the very heartbeat of our spiritual life, but we're not always sure how to pray. Maybe we're not consistent. Maybe we get distracted. Our prayer feels dry. We feel restless. We don't feel close to God. What do we do in those moments? And how do I allow God to really take me deeper in a friendship with Him and experience the great transformation He wants to do in our soul through my prayer life? So I've been teaching on spiritual theology and the saints and prayer for almost 2 decades, especially with young people. And I've just found that when we can bring the great tradition, the wisdom of the saints, to ordinary Christians like you and me, it really makes people come alive in their spiritual life. And so I wanted to take that very practical wisdom of the saints and apply it to people's ordinary struggles in prayer, but also their hopes and desires to go deeper in friendship with Jesus.
I love that. So relatable. And I know this work, Dr. Tree, is deeply connected to Italy. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we ended up filming here all over Rome in so many different churches, but also even outside of Rome in Assisi and Siena and Subiaco, where St. Benedict lived for a while. What we wanted to do is give people a visual of where these saints lived. And so many of the great saints and mystics and doctors of the church, they had some connection to Rome. Either they lived here, and this is where they grew in their spiritual life, or they came to Rome, like St. Therese. We got to film where the relic of her habit is. And she came to Rome on pilgrimage as a young girl, so we made the connections into her life here. And then other saints are just buried here. They have relics here, or they have amazing statues here, like the famous Bernini statue of the life of St. Teresa of Avila that's here as well. So we wanted to make the saints come alive, to see their humanness, because I think so many times we put the saints on a high pedestal, as we should, but sometimes we put them on such a high pedestal we forget that they were human, that they were one of us, that they had struggles in prayer, that they had many weaknesses. They had many times where either they doubted or they were in arguments with other people, and God came and met them in their weakness and transformed them with His grace. And what we want to do in the study is show that the same work that God did in all of these saints, He wants to do in ordinary Christians like us.
Cultivating a rich and lasting prayer life is one of the purposes of this book, I know. Can you share with us maybe some practical tips on how to achieve this?
Yeah, some of the key things is just getting started and making sure we have time for prayer every day. And by that, I mean more than just saying some prayers, more than just reciting devotions like the Rosary or Divine Mercy Chaplet. As awesome as those are, I hope we have those in our prayer life. Do we have that time for quiet time with the Lord every day? 15, 20, 30 minutes a day of reading with Scripture, talking to the Lord, listening, Lectio Divina, Ignatian meditation, whatever method you use, but that quiet, intimate conversation with God. That's what we want to have. But one of the biggest things that we highlight throughout are the many struggles that people have in prayer. You know, sometimes we don't feel close to God. And one of the things we emphasize through St. Catherine of Siena and St. John of the Cross and other great saints is that there's a big difference between faithfulness in prayer and feelings in prayer. You know, it's more important that I'm faithful, that I show up every day in prayer, that I just take that time to be with God, than it is to evaluate my prayer life according to what feelings I have. I feel close to God. I got this insight. I had a good time in prayer. I got some consolation. Those are wonderful moments when God gives those to us, but that's not the measure of someone's spiritual life. It's not how many feelings I have in prayer. The question is, am I faithful each day? It's kind of like in marriage. There's great moments with my wife where we can be on date night. I can look her in the eye. There's those romantic feelings, and it's awesome. But there's many other times where, we're exhausted. We have to wake up in the middle of the night with a baby. We just got to serve, or we have to work through some tension together. This is the ordinary stuff of married life. The key is, are we still faithful to each other? Love is in the will. It's not in my emotions. It's not in my feelings. To love is to will the good of the other, and that's true with marriage, it's true with family life, it's true with any human relationship. Am I going to be there for the other person? It's the same with our relationship with Jesus.
Yeah, we're going to leave it right there. So wonderful. Dr. Tree, always great to be with you. Thank you so much, and God bless.